Professor Divina Hasselman.
Hello, hello. My class is here. So first of all, I have to excuse myself because Pia asked me to hold a free speech or give a free talk. And I'm German, so we're not really good in doing anything freely, which is why I had to write it down. And I try to act freely as much as I can. Okay. So, well, thanks for having me, first of all. I feel very honored to be here and talk here at the Idea Fest. So when Pia first asked me to talk about passion, I thought, yeah, sure, no problem. I can do that, right? I'm a passionate person. I think I'm a passionate person. But then it really got me thinking about passion. If you were a fruit, which one would it be? I guess passion. So what does passion actually mean? And then, if it means different things, what kind of passion applies to me? So let's look at the word passion. I like to do this because I studied linguistics as a minor. So passion can mean different things, right? One is a strong and barely uncontrollable emotion. It can mean a state or outburst of such a strong emotion. Or it can mean intense sexual love, of course, as well. It can also mean an intense desire and enthusiasm for something. So let's think of the first one. That's basically passion connotated to a strong emotion, right? It can be there at a certain point in time. It might stay, but most of the times it won't stay for too long. Then there's the second, the passion in love. That is contingent, right? And will maybe find you or have found you at some point in your life. So someone enters your life and you feel passionate about that person. But maybe that person never enters your life. So it is as unpredictable as it is uncontrollable, right? We have nothing to say about this. Okay, then there's finally that kind of passion that silently joins you at some point in your life and won't let go of you for a very long time. That kind of passion differs from the other two kinds of passions in that it is more quiet and bears a certain patience. No? If we consider passion to be something like a fire, something that's uncontrollable, then this last kind of passion is a very nice paradox because it is so quiet. So, can duration join the phenomenon of passion? And if it does, what does that look like? The beauty of the third kind of passion, the passion that I will focus on during my talk, is that it is quiet in nature, and sometimes you don't even know that it's there. You didn't even identify it. The topic of tonight is find your fire, right? So maybe it's already there, you just haven't noticed it yet. Sometimes we only come to realize that we do have a passion for something, because even though it doesn't feel like a fire burning inside of us, there is this one thing that we always go back to. If I look back at my still somewhat short and sometimes scattered career, thanks for the introduction, by the way, that was extensive. I could say, well, I have at least two passions, yes. So one is the passion. So basically these two passions, you could say, were sometimes silent, sometimes they would just join me and accompany me for a while, and sometimes they would really force themselves upon me. So the first passion is basically an interest in how human beings communicate, right? How do we get anything across? How is it even possible to be understood by you? And how do I express myself? In which form, right? Is it through language? Is it through art or film? Or in short, media theory. This passion for media theory, of course I have to say this, right? I'm here as a media theory professor. No, I'm joking, it's an actual passion. This passion actually came quite unexpectedly and joined me even though I didn't know that I was searching for it. It became more tangible as I was immersing myself in the thinking about theory. If you want to describe my relationship to media theory as a Facebook status, I would have to say it's complicated. It really wasn't love at first sight at all, but it certainly was dramatic. However, we, media theory and myself, have finally come to the mutual understanding that we would not file a divorce, so we might as well stick it out. I enrolled in theater, film and media studies in 2007, so around 10 years ago, at the Goethe University in Frankfurt, with the minors of linguistics and political science. Back then, it just seemed like a really good idea. It seemed like something, like a very good excuse to keep reading the things I'm interested in anyways, right? I had no idea. I had no idea that I would spend my time reading very complicated theories by French post-structuralists and have to have discussions with my peers and professors on a level that I wasn't ready for. But before I knew, I was already hooked. I saw the political potentials of media theory, and I really liked what these thinkers made me do. They really laid out a whole range of theories that I could then apply to my own work. Even though reading sometimes still felt like a very difficult exercise to me and I was reluctant to undertake it, the reward was always big, extremely high. So it's that moment when you come to understand that the reward you get from something is so high that you always want to go back and do it again. So back in university, my fellow student and me, when sitting in a huge library all by ourselves, indulging in readings, which I hope you do too, especially my students, we would term the feeling of joy, that moment when these little fireworks come off in your head, we would term that braingasms. And I came to realize that theory, despite the word sounding very boring and dry, actually was quite the opposite for me. It really became a passion. So whenever I tried to leave theory at the side, for instance, when I was working at a broadcast station and decided I wanted to be an editor, or when I was also busy working on other people's film projects, then I realized after a while something was withering inside of me. It was not until I picked up a book again and did some readings that I realized that a whole universe of thoughts is out there, and I'd been missing that. So the only thing I had to do was to engage with theory. It was that simple. And when it happened over and over again, I would forget about it, right? I would just go on and work on something, and then I would realize something's missing, go back and read media theory. I realized, okay, I guess I have to give up and give in, so this is a passion now. So how many passions can we have? Is a passion only a true passion if you have only one? Well, my second passion is filmmaking. And filmmaking in the broadest sense. But aren't these two things so incongruous? To say it with Goethe, I'm going to quote the German dramatist here. Zwei Herzen schlagen in meiner Brust. Or, to say it in English, two hearts are beating in my chest. Maybe so, huh? But who said contradictions can be beautiful? So these two hearts in my chest can also talk to each other, right? They can challenge each other, inform each other, and thus enhance each other. My first encounters with film were somewhat helpless exercises, oftentimes looking for the extreme in the form. And I'm going to embarrass myself by showing them now to you. Just snippets. Where is... Ah, there.
Comes a rainstorm, put your rubbers on your feet. Comes a snowstorm, you can get a little heat. Comes love, nothing can be done. Comes a fire, then you know just what to do. Blow a tire, you can buy another shoe. Comes love, nothing can be done. Don't try hiding, 'cause there isn't any use. You'll start sliding when your heart turns. comes a headache. You can lose it in a day. Comes a toothache. See your dentist right away. Comes love. Nothing can be done. Comes a heat wave. You can hurry to the shore. Comes a summons. You can hide behind the door. Comes love. Nothing can be done. Comes the measles. You can quarantine the room. Comes a mousey. You can chase it with a broom. Comes love. Nothing can be done. That's all, brother. If you ever been in love, that's all, brother.
That was the first snippet. Well, there's a second and third one coming up. Und sie auf Dinge zu lenken, denen sonst zu wenig Zuneigung zuteil wird. Ich sagte mir, ich liebe nicht sie. Ich liebe dich, Schrank. Ja, ich liebe dich, Wand.
Ich liebe dich. Ich liebe dich.
Ich liebe dich, Fenster.
I love you. I love you. Si Mama. Si Mama. Si Mama ang actress? Tambong.
Ich liebe dich, Gelände. Ich liebe dich, Gelände. Ich liebe dich, Gelände.
Ich liebe dich. Ich liebe dich.
Es hat nichts gemeint. In allem, was ich sah und berührte, fand ich dich. Ich wartete und wartete. Aber es wollte nicht weggehen. Und du wolltest nicht sehen. Okay, that's the 3 snippets. Those were my first exercises in school. So you can tell already actually from those snippets that I was not actually schooled in cinematography or lighting or framing anything. So here, however, what happened was that I felt like, this is not actually my thing, this is embarrassing, I'm gonna stop doing that, right? But there was always something or someone that held me back. So whenever I wanted to stop doing this, somebody said, well, maybe not quite yet, right? So in this case, it was my professors at school. Back in New York, actually, when I got my master's, I had no experience in filmmaking whatsoever. But there were a few professors I hadn't even taken a class with, but they saw a rough cut of these 3 films and said, well, yeah, they look like shit, but you should still keep going. And that's just because they saw a potential in the storytelling there. They thought, well, you're talking about the human failure, miscommunication, the lack of means for expression, which is all in media theory, right? So these stories all evolve around that. So in the first snippet that you saw, the protagonists aren't allowed to talk, right? That's the exercise. You have to shoot a film, but nobody's allowed to talk, so they end up doing exaggerated gestures. In the second one, the protagonist is trying to find the right words to express his love for his ex-girlfriend, but in doing so, he takes too long and she leaves. And in the third one, we have one protagonist who's not able to see very clearly, and the other one is helplessly trying to get her attention. But here too, she fails in doing so, remaining in a state of unvoiced emotions and repressed feelings until she eventually falls into a state of waiting and for the lack of an actress, I had to do it myself. So yeah, that was my fun time during my master's, and then I finished, not actually with a film, but with a thesis, a written thesis. And then after my master's degree, reality really hit back at me, and it hit hard, because suddenly I had to make a living. So I took up any project that I was offered, and I ended up spending quite some time just, shooting music videos, promos, commercials, stuff I didn't believe in. I also began taking up assistant jobs here and there and working on other people's projects that had more money than me. And then by just assisting other people, I came to a conclusion, which is a saying in German, "Oh, sorry, I only have 1 minute left. Damn." So I guess I have to skip over most of my talk, I'm sorry. Let's see. I didn't time this before, obviously, right? So, let's see. So let's just skip over and get straight to the point of what passion can also mean, which is that passion actually comes from the Latin word pati, and can also mean suffering. Yes. So passion is always inherently intertwined with suffering. So I wanted to talk to you actually about a few lessons that I learned, and I'm going to take an easy one, which you will see now in the end. I ended up working for a while and then decided I want to invest more time in doing my own projects. So I called up a friend in London and asked if he wants to work on a film shoot with me in New York. And a couple of weeks later, he actually sat in a plane, came over to New York, and we shot a short film. We raised $11,000 to finance the project. And I really learned a few lessons. So like one lesson was, I always keep saying this also in my class, one lesson basically was that the energy from the director is going to set what you're doing, whether what you're doing makes sense to anyone. And if you engage in any artistic activity, may it be as a filmmaker or a writer, or maybe even as a scientist, you will always come to a point in life where you feel you're the only person wandering in the universe who has this one opinion on something. So you feel as if nobody understands what you believe is good or right. But in those times, often somebody comes along and tells you, no, it's all right, you should keep doing this, what you're doing, it's fine, right? Sometimes it comes from the back or silently, sometimes it's just somebody you barely know who shares the same passion with you. But, so I'm just going to end on this. I was going to show you another clip where there was an actor in it who is now somewhat of a big deal in Europe, apparently. So he was acting in one of my short films, and I had a huge discussion with him on how do you become successful, right? I'm ending. I'm ending now. So basically what happened was that he said, well, you know what, I'm deaf on one ear. I can barely speak, he mumbles a lot. So how do you think I got successful, right? If I have to describe my life over the last 10 years, it would be stubborn, lonely, harsh, no social activity whatsoever, relationships only with weak people who wouldn't get in my way. To sum it up, he would say he would really go with his head through the wall in order to get where he was now. That's of course one way you can do it, right? But I would suggest another one, which is more like a fish in unusual waters. So you can also do the same thing and also get your career going by just always adapting in new situations, always finding a new way around. So why would you have to take your head through a wall if you can also find a crack in the wall and just slide through, right? It's a lot more elegant and you don't lose your friends. So all I want to say, and I'm going to end on this, is that as an artist or as a scientist or somebody who really engaged with something, somebody who has a true passion in something will always also suffer to some extent. But as you're on it and as you're suffering and as you're doing this, you cannot expect that this is going to end anytime soon because there is no destination. There's just your life that's progressing. and you're just taking baby steps to get up the ladder, right? So while you're doing it, you might as well try to be happy. You might as well try to get most joy out of it and not actually make the suffering worse, right? So I hope this was somewhat motivating to everyone. I hope you all find your passion, a silent one or a fire, a loud one or a quiet one. And as you find it and you engage with it, make sure to stay happy and healthy. I'm going to show you one last clip and end on this. Thank you.
That's it.
Good job, Max.
Thanks.
What's that, Lucas?
Into a small one that transforms into a small one that transforms into an even smaller one. Cool.
Kira! Come on. Let me in, Kira. Just open the door.
Steve, go away. We don't want to see you.
Kira, you can't ignore me like this. We have to talk. This is not the way to deal with this situation.
You've got to stop showing up like this. It's not getting us anywhere.
Tell me what I should do. Kira, I can't get a hold of you. I miss Max and Lucas. Come on, I want to see them, please.
I think they were here.